Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Cucchiara, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome in, Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. I hope everyone is doing well. Hope this message finds everyone well during this just a really ongoing changing market we're in here in real estate for sure. We are just finishing up the first quarter, rolling into the second quarter, and things are changing just a little bit. I wanted to talk today a little bit about the market in general. When I say the market, typically I cover the Bay Area, Santa Clara counties, but mostly Northern California, Bay Area. We do a lot of research throughout different states. In California, of course, from time to time, we'll do articles and studies. But for the most part, just an update on what's going on in the real estate lending market right now in the greater Bay Area, and some information for you there as well. So as I kind of touched on the last podcast I did, that we're trending, the interest rates are trending down a little bit. So part of my message today is that now is a better time to buy than it's been actually in the last 3 or 4 months. So as you're listening to this message, I would say that right now is a better time to buy than it has been in the last 3 or 4 months. You'll hear me say a lot, really, it's always a good time to buy depending on what your strategy is and what your long-term approach is. I'm one of those people, as you've heard me say hundreds, if not thousands of times, because I've done over 1,700 podcasts now and interviews, is that it's always a good time to buy if it's right for you. And what I mean by that is we could give you all kinds of historical data that would prove that no matter what time a person bought or when a person bought, typically in the Bay Area, in many cases, really, if you had a long-term approach and you held onto that property long-term, it's likely the high percentage that you've done very well. And we have all kinds of case studies here. We don't need to go into that in the detail. Most of you know, if you're listening to me, you know what I mean. So for those that are just thinking about buying a home or haven't bought a home yet, or maybe you've been out of the market for a while, I would say right now, and when I say right now, this moment, not this day, but I think really here we are in April. I think April, May, maybe in part of June will be a good time to buy. And the reason why I'm saying this is I do think we'll have a pickup of activity come summertime this time, more than we've had in the last 2 or 3 years. Yeah, I think that with COVID kind of in the rearview mirror, and people are getting still a little bit weary with the economy, of course, and there's still some strange signs in the economy. Don't get me wrong. There's really some things that I think a lot of us are concerned about. And if we really in a recession, how bad is it going to be? And is it as bad as it's going to be? And I think it could get a little bit worse now. But I do think in this time period right now, as I sit here today doing this podcast, it's April 12th. I do think April and May are going to be some great times to buy. And the reason why, I'll give you some details. One, rates have just come down roughly about 1% in the last 4 or 5 weeks. That's a big difference. That is a significant difference. And we were looking at interest rates at 7.5% or more. Now we're around 6.25%, 6.5%, and you could maybe get something a little lower on an ARM. So now if you're looking at price points, and if you're looking at interest rates in the high 5s or low 6s, I know historically that is wonderful. I know in the last 4 or 5 years, some of you might be listening to high 5s and low 6s going, Joe, are you nuts? I have a 3% interest rate. I understand. I do. I have them as well. But my point is, we're trying to advocate people to really make a move and make some adjustments on some of the goals and objectives they have for buying a home. So yes, my recommendation is I'll put up the green light right now. If you're listening to this podcast, send it to coworkers, friends, family members, whatever. I would suggest that as the green light, go and buy right now, and a couple of reasons. Not only because the rates have came down some, but the bigger reason is that inventory is still low but it should start to pick up just a little bit now. And as inventory picks up, you're going to have some more opportunity to see more available homes on the market. Now, some people might say, well, Joe, when the inventory picks up, doesn't that mean that prices could level or come down? Well, let's just put it this way. If inventory exploded and all of a sudden we went from, 2,000 on the market in Santa Clara County to 3,500, then I'd say, yeah, of course, but that's not going to happen. I just don't see that happening. I see inventory picking up a little bit, and the reason why I think it's important and good for those out there, get pre-approved now if you haven't already. Get pre-approved, and again, just a reminder, we could help you with that. That's what we do. I do financing. I have a team that have done that for 23 years. So if you need anything about financing, get pre-approved. We're here to do that for you, and we could help you do that. 408-838-9060. Again, the best way to reach me is 408-838-9060. You could also email me, joe@𝗟𝗢𝗩𝗘.com. That's what our team specializes in residential financing. We also help refer real estate agents, financial planners, CPAs, anything to do with real estate. We have a great team and a network to help those that are looking for those professionals. So as inventory ticks up a little bit, you're going to have more of an opportunity to see more homes on the market, which potentially could give you something, more additional to look at and more possibilities for purchasing a home. So I would encourage you, if you're thinking about it, or if you're on the fence or kind of on that bubble, now is a great time. If you're not already pre-approved, get pre-approved. Get pre-approved with someone you trust. I know a lot of people are going online automatically and doing that. That's great. I think that's a great way to go. But I would say this, still be very careful. I know that a lot of commerce, a lot of what we do, everything starts online. I get it. I do the same thing. I'm with you there. The thing that I want you to be careful about and really try to understand is that a mortgage is still one of the most, well, it's not is one of the, a mortgage is the most complicated part of a purchase. Period. And anybody that tells you different is not being honest. If you are out buying a home, okay, once you find a home, I'm not saying find a home is easy, but once you find a home you love or the home you like, you sign a contract, it's pretty smooth since then. Yeah, you might have some issues and appraisals and might be some things on a home inspection, etc. What I'm saying is that financing is still, unfortunately, the most challenging part of a home transaction and a home purchase. So make sure you're working with the right person. Make sure you're working with someone you trust. Make sure you're working with someone local that could close the unit or the purchase on time. It's a big deal on a purchase market. It really is. It is a big deal on a purchase market, not so much on a refinance. I would say you have a lot more time. You have, 45 to 60 days in some cases on a refinance, but on a purchase, it's super critical, very critical to find someone that understands purchases, timelines, contingencies. There's a lot of things that go into a purchase. A lot of times the sellers and the listing agent will want to go with what's called zero contingencies. In other words, they want to accept an offer. So they want to be able to sign a contract and say, I don't have to have any financing contingencies. I don't have to have any appraisal contingencies. I'm going to take this home as is. Some people are okay with that. Some people are not. It just depends. So I will just say this. If you have a relationship with someone and you trust them, then stick with them. If you're doing something online, just be very careful, because if you're talking to someone in Milwaukee or Chicago or Rocket Mortgage or whatever it is, it all sounds great. Believe me, it all sounds great. But let me tell you this. A loan is a loan is a loan. Here's what I'm going to talk about. So the physical part of a loan is a loan. Doesn't matter if you get it with me, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Rocket Mortgage, doesn't matter. A loan is a loan is a loan. We all get money from the same place. So I could tell you the difference is who you work with, how they're going to structure that loan. Once the loan goes in the system, who is handling it, who has a relationship with the underwriters, the funders, the people that could get the loan done on time. I know it sounds simple, but I could tell you, and anybody that's been through these stories, ask them too, it's not that simple. I could go on stories and stories, and just ask your neighbors, your friends, your family, your coworkers. Ask them if they've had an experience with buying a home, and ask them what their experience has been. In many cases, if you're not working with the right person, it could be super challenging. It really can. A lot of people do what's called window dressing, and they say, no problem, Mr. Smith, you're approved. Good to go. And you're out looking for a home, and you have this letter that anybody could generate a letter, by the way. Anyone. Doesn't matter. Okay. So you have this letter in your hand, and you find a home, you're excited. All of a sudden you say, all right, we're ready to go. The contract comes in. And next thing you know, your lender says, well, wait a minute. I just checked your bank account and you don't have enough reserves. We need 12 months reserves for this loan. And you're like, well, wait a minute. You said I was approved. Oh, well, we just preliminary looked at your documentation and your information. Everything looked pretty good. And we looked good. But now that you're in contract, we have some issues here. And now you're thinking, well, wait a minute. I was approved. I'm telling you, this happens more often than not. You need to work with one, or I should say you should work with someone that you trust and that is going to underwrite the loan before you look for a house. That's right. Here's the key word. You have to, if whoever you're working with, ask him if you have an underwritten approval, not just an approval, underwritten approval. And you might say, Joe, what's that mean? So what that means is that you have uploaded all your documents, W-2s, pay stubs, in some cases, tax returns, depending on what type of loan it is, if you're self-employed or not, all assets. And as a lender, the only way we could do what's called an underwritten approval is look at your income, your assets, your credit, your liabilities, and then make a judgment on whether we're going to approve you or not. It's easy, believe me, it is easy, but what most lenders do, and most people do because they just want to say yes, is they just kind of scan through the information and they don't go deep enough, and they don't find out where that down payment's coming from. And you need reserves. And oh, by the way, you only have 2 credits established on your credit report? Oh, no, I don't like debt. Well, wait a minute. Well, most lenders, they need to have some credit established. Oh, well, that could be a problem. So there are so many things that go into financing. All I'm going to say, I'm not saying this to scare you, but if you're looking to get pre-approved, do it with someone you trust. And of course, that's what we're here to do. We're happy to help. And we use this as a resource too. I always tell my clients, I've been doing this for 23 years. I've done over 17, 18, probably close to 2,000 loans now. And what I could tell you is that even if you decide to use someone else, use me as a resource. It's always good to pick someone's brain and find out a little bit of, maybe get an alternative, some recommendations or some options of what's going on. So I would just say do that. Make sure you stay in touch with that person. Make sure you connect your real estate agent and your lender together. So many people, I can't tell you, when I start working with someone that I haven't worked with them before, I always recommend and tell them that in order for me to work together, I need an introduction either by email or phone call. And I'll need to discuss this with your real estate agent because we need to be on the same page, fighting for the same cause, and that's you, the client. So many people don't do this. So many people don't understand how important this is. So real estate agents, I know a lot of you listen to this podcast, you know what I'm talking about. If you get engaged in a new contract for the better of your client, make sure you engage with your lender or the loan officer, whoever that is, and make sure you're on the same page communicating. Super important. It really is. There's a lot of things that go into a relationship or a transaction. I will say this again before I wrap this part of it up. It's a great time to buy right now. Right now is a green light window, is what I call right now is a green light. If you're looking to purchase, it's a great time for 2 reasons primarily. One, rates have come down, and I think that there's a chance that they could bounce back up here maybe later in the next 3 or 4 months. So that's a good time. And the second reason is, I would think in the next 60 days or so, there's going to be more inventory coming on the market. And you don't want to wait till the last minute. So get pre-approved, get ready, get out there looking now, and hopefully you could find a place, and you can find a place that you like and get into contract and hopefully move along. So that's what my suggestion is today. It is the green light buy market. Go do that. Also, for those that are thinking about moving and buying rental properties or second homes, I would be very, very, very careful and cautious, especially on the second home market. I am right now a red light for the second home market and kind of a yellow light for the investor and the renters. It just depends where you're buying. There's a lot of things changing in the economy right now. Real estate is always a great investment, always. But you have to be able to withstand the ups and downs and the roller coaster type rides you come in with sometimes. And remember, if you're a landlord, it sounds great. And a lot of people have all these sexy stories online about I have 1,500 doors and I do great and I travel the world. I'm making $100,000 a month. And there's a lot of that taking place. But it's a lot of work too. You have to have systems in place when you buy rental properties and you manage rental properties. The Airbnb thing has become a big thing. That's exciting too. But again, follow someone, mentor with someone that has done this and have success with it, and build a relationship with these people until you could figure out exactly the right time to pull the trigger and do the things you want to do with success with real estate. All right. I'm going to wrap things up. Again, just as a reminder, check in with us, 𝗟𝗡𝗩𝗘.com. That's 𝗟𝗡𝗩𝗘.com. You could contact me, 408-838-9060. That's again, 408-838-9060. You could email Joe at 𝗟𝗡𝗩𝗘.com. A lot of exciting things coming up. I'm going to share the details when I have them, but it looks like I might start the live radio show again here in the next couple of months, which will mean I'll have thousands and thousands, 100,000 more people in reach here in the Bay Area with the podcast and the live radio. So I'm super excited about doing that. I did live radio for 11 years and I miss it. It was fun, but it has to be the right opportunity. And I think that might be coming back. So thanks again for tuning in. Take care and be sure to share the podcast with anybody you care about, friends, family, coworkers. Have a great, great afternoon. Until next time, this is Joe Cucchiara. Take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit 𝗟𝗡𝗩𝗘.com. That's 𝗟𝗡𝗩𝗘.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at 𝗟𝗡𝗩𝗘live.com.